Madden 24 has been out for a week now, so let's talk about what's good about the game, what's bad about the game, some things I think they need to work on, how I'm feeling about the game, and everything else. We're doing it here on the second channel because I can just keep it more raw and uncut. I don't have to do a lot of editing. I can just talk straight to you guys one-on-one. Now, I've been having fun with Madden 24 so far. Personally, I like the game right now, but there definitely are some things that they need to work on and address, and it's always scary when we start giving this kind of feedback because when they tweak one thing, sometimes another thing winds up breaking. It's kind of the unfortunate reality of this, but mainly going to keep this a gameplay focused video because really no matter what type of player you are, you're dealing with the gameplay, whether it's online head-to-head, whether it's ultimate team, whether you're in franchise mode or an online CFM, everybody deals with the gameplay. So that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video. So personally, head-to-head, I'm having fun. I will say that All Madden is definitely way better than All Pro. So, if you're playing Ultimate Team, you do have the option to play in All Madden or All Pro. If you're playing like online regs head-to-head, you kind of just have to play on All Pro, which is kind of unfortunate. But, I've been actually playing a lot of regs myself. I'm kind of stepped away from Ultimate Team a bit this year. It's just too much to keep up with. I'd rather just play regs, hop into quick games. I don't have to worry about updating the team, things like that. Don't have to worry about spending any money either, so that's always a plus. But All Pro, definitely you kind of can notice some of the issues with the game more than All Madden, in my opinion. And I think if you're like an online CFM or franchise guy, you definitely want to be going All Madden. You can tweak the sliders so much more there to make them, as good as possible. You can really get the best experience in a franchise because of sliders, but if you're playing regular online, you have to just pick between All Madden and All Pro, unfortunately. But I would say the number one thing that's frustrating right now is the inaccurate passes, a lot of overthrows, especially even with like the skill-based passing when you try to freeform. So right now, if you're experiencing a lot of inaccuracies with freeforming, I would just kind of hold off on that a little bit because I'm sure they're going to put out an update for this. It definitely seems like there's some kind of bug in the game where there's just more inaccuracies than there should be. And I think what's maybe happening is that they're giving QBs under pressure penalties even when they're not clearly under pressure. And this is something I was even noticing before the game came out when I was playing it a little bit early and recording content. I was noticing there was a lot of inaccurate passes, and that definitely has carried over to the regular game. Now, you won't notice this as much with a QB like Joe Burrow in regs, for example, because he has the fearless ability, so he can't really get those penalties no matter what. So you play with him, you notice the game plays, at least accuracy-wise, a little more how you would expect. But when you play with some of the other QBs, you see a lot of crazy passes. Now, even with that said, it's still super easy to score, so I think that's why it's not more of a big deal right now, because offense is pretty easy right now. I think this is the easiest offensive Madden we've seen in some years. A lot of high scoring games, and it's really mostly because defense just isn't that good, especially again, All Pro versus All Madden. Pretty big difference. On All Madden, a little bit easier to get stops. AI is a little bit better. On All Pro this year, I mean, you could just score all day. So even the inaccurate passes, while they're annoying, they're not as much of an issue, because if you miss a pass on one play, you'll probably just complete it on the next play anyway. So that's like kind of the two biggest things out of the gate. Inaccurate passes, definitely need to look into that. Defense, the defense needs a buff somewhere. I would say man defense is still the preferred go-to like last year. Now the man press, cover zero, not as much because, pressing is a little more risky this year, which is good. I think that was a good change, but man is definitely way better than zone. It just doesn't really feel too smart to play a whole lot of zone. Like, you can mix it in, but man is definitely going to be your best bet. They need to buff the zones a little bit. Defense is just really too easy to score on right now. Hey, really quickly before we continue, I do want to also mention that we are once again sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. They've been a huge supporter of both of my channels. If you like to dabble in the sports betting a little bit like I do, they have a really fun pick'em game where you can put a few player props together, and if they hit, you can win some money. And if you sign up using my promo code RAY, they'll actually double your first deposit up to $100, so you can get $100 free to play around with as a new customer. It does help support the channel a ton. If it's something you're into, check it out. Now, continuing on with defense here, I would say the other thing about defense that maybe could use a buff would be the pass rush. The pass rush last year, I thought, just standard pass rush, 4 down linemen, actually was pretty good, pretty balanced. They would get off the blocks, pretty consistently. You wouldn't have all day to throw. If you had guys with pass rushing abilities, obviously you would notice it even more. This year, regular pass rush, if you don't have abilities, is just really bad in my opinion. And the only way to play defense right now is kind of man blitzing. I mean, you can mix some stuff around, but man blitzing and trying to do whatever different kind of loop defense you can find, or whatever defense you can kind of get the glitchy contain rushes with. There's a few in the game right now. They're all kind of inconsistent in my opinion, but that's really the only way to play defense, is just hope your man coverage holds up on that play and hope you get the quick loop from your defensive line or your linebacker, or hope that the contained rush that you put on the play just kind of glitches around the offensive line a little bit. Again, it's not as consistent. It's not like a foolproof every single play thing, which is good. We don't want to see that, but it's the only way to play defense, is hoping that the glitchy pass rush kind of gets there and hoping your man coverage holds up. Playing zone, you're just kind of asking to be beat by playing anybody that's half decent at this game. Playing straight man, you know, cover 2 man is also okay, but they'll have all day to pass, so even a good player can kind of be patient and usually find somebody open. The run game is kind of a tricky one. I don't mind the run game being good. It's really good right now. Kind of getting close to Madden 20 good in some areas, I would say. I did like Madden 20, just kind of full disclaimer. It was a very chaotic, crazy game. I had fun on it. I can understand other people that absolutely hated it. The run right now is closer to Madden 20 than any other game we've had since Madden 20, at least that. And again, this is another all-pro, all-Madden type thing, but run is way easier on all-pro. Like, if you got a couple good runs on all-pro, you can really gash people if they don't know, you know, the right type of defense to use. And granted, a lot of times people do get ran on because they're just not using good run defense. They're using bad sets or bad fronts and making it even easier. But it does seem like the way the AI responds to the run, even with adaptive AI, which they said was going to be in the game this year, I'm not noticing much adaptive AI. There's a few runs that I have that if I really want to call them, if my opponent is not in the right defense, you know, I'm gashing it pretty much every time, which should happen if he's not in the right defense. Don't get me wrong. But it's also just other aspects of the run defense where it just feels like the AI isn't that great. It feels like closer to Madden 20 than the last few years where it actually was responding a lot better versus the run. Now on all Madden, it's definitely way better. All Madden, you're going to see more people passing than running, but on all pro, you can kind of go either way because the defense is just kind of, in my opinion, struggling on both on all pro. So that's something they might want to look into, more of the run defense. I think the run is going to be better regardless because the run blocking is 100% better. It's not perfect. They definitely still miss open blocks all the time and run past guys or glitch out. I've seen it happen, you know, quite a few times in the games I've played, but on average, it's definitely way better, and that's a big reason why the run is better. But the way the defense is responding, I was expecting more, especially when they were talking about adaptive AI. Again, if you're in the wrong type of defense to stop a run, I don't think adaptive AI should help you there. You should still get toted on if you're just in a horrible defense to stop the run set that's on the field. But even when people are in a decent defensive set, it seems like they are still struggling a lot to even limit the run. So that may be something else that they could look into. But right now, I mean, if they leave it alone, I'm not going to complain. I like running a little bit. I like being under center more and mixing up run and pass. So, I mean, I'll have fun scoring the ball a ton, but, you know, it's definitely something that could possibly use some tweaking. I've heard some other people complaining about the jukebox ability being too good. This is another one that maybe just, it's a bias thing. I like it. I think ball carrier moves have been really weak the last few years in Madden. They kind of keep taking them away. You know, some years the spin's good and then they just nerf the spin and make the spin pretty much useless, how it is now. There's some years where we had double jukes, then they completely took it out of the game. There was years where both jukes and spins were useless. So then people learned the stop and go and they started using that. That was a fun move. Then they nerfed that. Now you can't really stop and go too great anymore. Then you had the new double juke that we had last year. Now they've nerfed that. So it's like they're always nerfing ball carrier moves. And I think part of having fun in a football video game is you need to be able to fake people out in open field. Like, good stick should matter. Now granted, the jukebox makes it a lot easier. You don't have to have great stick to pull off jukebox. I'm not saying that, but I think you need good stick to stop it on defense. So I've played some people where I try to juke them and they're just locking me up because they're good user defenders. But people that don't want to click on or they're just bad at usering, if I have jukebox, I'm going to fake them out literally every single time. I even did a video on this channel, which you can check out, the best ball carrier moves, and I went over the juke in that, specifically with jukebox. You'll make them miss every single time, the computer or a user, if they're not a good user. And I think that's how it should be. I think you should have to be a good user to stop that. The regular juke is not that powerful. It's good, but jukebox definitely takes it up a notch. But I feel like that's the whole point of the ability. It's supposed to make the jukes better, and it's supposed to make it harder for you on defense. So I have seen that complaint from quite a few people. Me personally, I like it. I wouldn't mess with the jukebox, but you know, it's kind of just up to EA. And the one other thing I will say, it seems like no huddle quick hiking is definitely a little crazier this year. It seems like you can get to the line really quickly and kind of snap the ball. Now, again, some people might like this. If you play that way, you probably love this. It's very hard to set up defense against a no-huddler this year. I mean, it's always been a little more difficult in general just because that's what no-huddling does, but it seems like this year, the no-huddle and the amount of time you're able to snap is a little bit faster than years past, and that little bit faster really can make a big difference between getting a couple of defensive adjustments off and not. And I don't know, I think you have to have some balance there. You can't make it to where no-huddling is just this completely unbalanced thing where you pretty much are just forced to run a stock defense anytime someone no huddles. And with defense, like I said, not being so great right now, that puts you at a huge disadvantage if someone's no huddling, because your stock defense probably isn't going to stop a whole lot if you're playing a competent player. All in all, I'm having fun right now. I'm loving playing online, probably because I haven't been losing many games, so again, I could be biased, but those are the things that I think need to be addressed. Let me know what you think below in the comments. And if you want to check out that ball carrier video and learn how to break ankles in Madden 24, make sure to check out this video right here on the screen.